Okay, so here's a thing. A thing I haven't done in a hot minute. I need this panel from One Piece for something. Because it's frankly one of the most beautiful panels in all of One Piece. It's one of the most beautiful illustrations that Eiichiro Oda has ever committed to paper, in my opinion. It's so gorgeous. This is the Drum Island arc when Luffy has climbed up a mountain, like, until his hands are bloody carrying Sanji and Nami, just hoping to get them to a doctor who's supposed to be living here. So he goes through like this horrible gauntlet of pain and suffering, and then finally he gets there, and like the place he gets to looks like this. And it's such a monumental, gorgeous illustration. Like the way, like the snow country background, and then like these little bits of super stark black and white, right? Like these shadows that he hatches into the underside of the parapets and shit. It's so pretty. It's such a beautiful illustration. And I need it for something. I need it for a thing. So I've decided to retouch it. Which is to say, I'm gonna remove this. I'm gonna try and paint in what's missing here. This is the page break. This is like a 2-page spread. And this bit here, all of this missing stuff, is where, like, there's no illustration because the page breaks there. There's no point painting outside of that margin. So I'm gonna fill that in as best I can. And if my microphone sounds a little bit different, it's because it's off to the side, or away from me a little bit more than it usually is, because I need to be able to look down to my tablet and see this. And I'm gonna paint out the speech bubble here. And then, I don't know, maybe I'm gonna remove the panel border. Maybe. Which means I'll crop it in close and I'll just try and fill in whatever details, sort of, because this is not a perfect... The panel itself is not a perfect square. So if I try to crop it, some bits will be left and some bits won't, so I'll have to paint that stuff in. I don't know if I'm going to try and crop it, though. The panel border kind of matters to the image. Although it would be fun, maybe, to, as an exercise, to try and like paint the panel border out and then extend the illustration. Yeah, but that's not the exercise right now. Right now, I just want to fill in the missing bits and retouch and get the speech bubble out of the way, because I want the illustration complete in its starkness, in its like for a thing. So I think that's what I'm gonna do. Let me just, where's the canvas size? You can see there's more panel over here that I've cropped off. Because I don't need that for this, but I do want the margin. Okay. So, pen selection is the next problem. I could always just use the G pen, which is like the basic pen in my art program, which, like, that's probably going to be able to do the trick, right? The issue is, I don't know if you can see it, but here, right here, there, where my retouching overlaps with the old artwork, you can see how it multiplies and creates like a darker area that's kind of visible. I kind of want to avoid that. Like, yeah, okay. And you can see, like, one thing I can't really correct is this, the aliasing, right? Like, when you compress something in a JPEG or a PNG format, inevitably you get this aliasing, this dirtying in between areas of color, right? Like, whether that's black and white or whether that's whatever, you get this aliasing, which is like the compression algorithm trying to save data and make the image like as small in terms of data information as possible. But in doing so, it also tries to average out between adjacent pixels, and that creates this, like this compression artifacting. And there's really nothing I can do about that, but I could recreate it, but it would take 100 billion years to try and do. But it does mean that the lines that I put down are not going to have that. You can see they're not going to have that ghosting around them. And that can change their look just a little bit. Yeah, that looks a little awkward, doesn't it? Like, what was Oda trying to do to connect these two up? Probably make it as gentle as possible, like something like this, maybe? That just doesn't look right, does it? The way it connects in over here. Yeah, not quite. That's probably about the best I can do for that little bit. Now, you there. Okay, I think that's more or less invisible. Not quite, not quite. The joint here. And that's not even my thing there. Like, that's Oda original, that little bump at the top there, but okay. Yeah, that's functionally invisible. Invisible enough for my purposes, anyway. Let's see if we can repeat the feet. Down here. It's not going to be the world's most complicated retouching job, but I enjoy them. Okay, that should need to feather that a little bit more. Okay, that looks invisible to me as well. Let's try and see if we can complete... Because presumably when Oda was creating this illustration, he didn't draw in the gutter, right? Like, he didn't draw in the thing. Like, I'm sure he sketched it. Like, I'm sure he created the structure and, like, the everything for the illustration across, like, a whole page, but clearly he didn't bother to fill this in completely, so you can see the way that this line here sort of implies that it wants to go that way, while this one kind of implies it wants to go that way and overlap. Like, they don't look like they're quite supposed to join up, which means I'm gonna have to do a little bit of vandalism. Just a touch. Just get rid of those tapering ends there, and then replace them with maybe something like that, so they can join up more smoothly. Slowly feather that in, so that it becomes more or less invisible. Yeah, I think that'll do it. Okay. The castle is obviously the complicated bit, right? Like, this is the bit that's gonna be hard. So let's deal with that last and do all the easy parts first. Like, maybe we can... Yeah, that'll do. And then let's try and get rid of the speech bubble. Again, here you see the anti-aliasing artifacts. Probably the only smart thing to do is just paint them over with white. Try and clean them up. Like so. Try and get rid of the compression artifacts around this line art as well, so they don't show up. Oh, here's a difficult one. Because I want to keep compression artifacts around the bits where the compression artifacts originally were. Don't want to clean that up, because that's part of how the image is compressed, and it'll look weird if parts of the image are missing those compression artifacts. Smooth value gradient, trying to come down here, there, and then more or less right. Yeah, I think that's okay. And now we have to be creative, because now, without the speech bubble, there's a huge blank space here with no snowflakes in it. Or snowballs, almost, the way that Oda renders them. So, let's see, what's the... We'll have to do some measuring by eye here. Try and get a sense of what's the density of these things and what size of snow do we need in order to complete the look of the image here. Because one thing about these snowballs, right, is you can see Oda's hand. He's not drawing perfect circles. These are quite rough around the edges, and the line width and the pressure is not completely consistent around the whole length of them. And I think I have a tendency to draw slightly smoother lines because I'm not working with paper, right? Like, I'm not sitting with a pen on paper trying to scratch this out against the resistance of the paper. I have a smooth tablet screen, so trying to match the relative roundness of what Oda does is gonna be a bit of a thing. Yeah, line weight isn't quite right. Then nope, that's wrong. No, not quite correct. Need to curve them more on the volume of the snowball. something like that. No, still the density is wrong. They need to be closer together. Yeah, that looks about right to me. Okay, cool. Now, I think because we've had this, right, because that's still there, that means Oda also has not drawn any snowflakes in the in-between here, right? And I think we need to add, like, at least... one or two. To fill in that space. No, that's too big. Let's see, what's Oda's pressure pattern? It's like heavier out here and then he gets lighter around there, right? So probably means he's drawing them around like this. Because you wouldn't increase the end. It's like you start with higher pressure, so it's like... Okay, I'm gonna try and add a tiny bit of compression artifacting around it. Just emulate that with some tiny gray shadow. Yeah, that's filled in that column okay. Right. Now to the more problematic areas, which is all of the castle, cuz this line here worries me. This one that goes here, and the one that goes up here. Because what he's doing in the illustration, right, is he's using the line weight, right? Like he's filling in these deep dark blacks to show the depth of the building. And then over here you can see how he varies from like a higher line weight to like barely sketching the outline, and then a higher line weight, and then barely sketching out, because he's showing the shadows on the building, right? He's showing that the bits that poke forward, that get light, sort of almost get obliterated into the whiteness of the castle, but the bits that get shadow, in the dark landscape, they stand out like motherfuckers, right? So we have to figure out what he was trying to do when he drew this line down here with that heavy line weight, and this line up here with that heavy line weight. But you can see this line, if it connects to anything, it kind of seems like it's supposed to connect with this, right? But that doesn't quite work with the perspective. I should probably get a ruler in here for this. Let me see if... because I have some perspective rulers I can use. Let's see, there. Because, like, what was the perspective guide that Oda was working with here? Let's try and draw it out. Let's go from the most extreme areas, actually. Here. Follow that line, because it looks like he's been using a ruler for this, right? Like, this doesn't look like he just did it by hand. It looks like he had some kind of perspective tool to work with. So let's try and see if we can replicate that perspective. Okay, now we have that. Now I have a ruler that will align all my lines with his. Yeah, okay, so let's try and draw out this. Would connect there. This would connect. Yeah, so that connects to here. Okay. And that connects to here. That goes down there to, well, probably not any further than to there. I should add a second perspective to it, by the way, because he's working with a 3-point perspective. This will replicate the whole thing. Can we find a nice long line to grab that perspective from? Not really, but okay, we'll just have to be precise then. No, not there. This is better. Corner to corner. And then can we find another one higher up in the image that can help us? Ugh, not a lot of options. Guess we'll have to go with this. Boop. And then let's get the third point. Where can we get a nice long line? Oh, here. And okay. That should give me a ruler that will follow his lines of perspective. Excellent. Okay. Not that I need them for everything, but like this must clearly be the underside of over there, right? Like this thing goes all the way over down there, so this line continues there. Okay. Let me just remove all my lines that I've drawn so far. Which ones do I really, really need? I really need... Again, I'm wondering about like the purpose of this dark, because that's meant to show the indentation here, right? That there's an indentation and then this window here pokes out of that indentation. But then the dark shadow seems to continue down here, but then it just kind of... So if we were to... Let me try this with black. If we were to replicate these both and really give him the beans in terms of darkness... What kind of structure does that imply? Okay. And I'd rather sort of... Yeah, because that doesn't look right to me. I'm gonna have to go hard with the ruler here, I think. Okay. Okay, again, I think we're gonna have to do a little vandalism. No, that's too much. Okay. This needs to be feathered. Better. Yeah, something about the gradient here that's not right yet. Like, you can see here, right? Well, I don't know if you can see it on your screen, but like here, there's like... And those are like Oda's original lines, but there's just... capturing the directionality of them without accidentally thickening them beyond what makes sense. I'm not completely happy with that, but it'll have to do. Okay, next, let me put some guidelines down now. Give me a bright blue for that, and then you go there, you go there, you translate into that, so the underside of that needs to go that down, and then you translate over there. Ooh, interesting, okay. Yeah, we'll have to do some retouching on top of that. And then there's this, right, like this. That roof. This bit is going to be fun. But I only really need this for that, right? Again, here's the thing of like, clearly there's supposed to be a snowdrift here, right? But the snowdrifts that he's painted elsewhere, drawn elsewhere, so like that snowdrift has to be occluded by this section of wall then, right? It has to be something like... like that, right? Because that's like a protruding thing over the side, right? Surely. Okay. Let's move the ruler away. I don't need it right now. I want to freehand this mostly. Okay. So nothing there, but we do need to replicate the and not quite. There's a softness around the inside of that needs. Okay, yeah, that looks good. That looks good. Except, it's probably more like that, isn't it? Nope, I don't want to put it upwards. I want to... It's rising too high. Carried under there. Right? Yeah, and then that is a little bit too much. Feather those values. Yeah, that's probably about right-ish. See, now the trouble is, like, this doesn't quite connect with that naturally, so we'll have to cheat it a little bit. That. And then... yeah. Okay. Right, like that. And this seems to be a snow lake drifting down. So we want to complete that out. That. And then... Yeah, I'm gonna need the ruler for this. Ruler, could you please show up again? Thank you. Let me just... Okay. Because then this should terminate downwards here, right? Oh, no, that's not right. Thinner. In fairness, Oda here messed up the perspective a little bit, so I'm kind of gonna have to match that. Question now. This bit right here. Is the idea of this... whatever the hell that is the idea of that it... like, is that like... snowdrift that occludes the castle walls? Because I don't think it should be, because like he drew in the lines. So then what the hell is this thing? What is that? What is that structure? What is this thing? It does not appear on the other side. Oh, it's a snow... oh, it's one of these. It's one of these. It's a snowdrift, like, sitting in the corner. Okay. Which means this corner, and then that corner in there, and then that goes down over. Okay, so we don't need to mess with that. Alright. That's not what we're doing. So we have these lines... that run down there. Which, like... okay, now how does he handle the other ones of these? Okay, so he's actually kind of forgotten a couple of details, but he handles it as, like, runs very close, so that should be... okay. Hang on. So that should be like that, right, to line up with it? And then the inner corner of that should be like that. Okay, so I've painted too far here. Okay. Let's retake that then. It's supposed to be... this instead then. And then that inside corner there is where... how heavy does it draw it? Not very heavy at all. And then snow overlaps there. Okay, that's somewhat more correct, but it still needs to go up a little further. It needs to come out a little more. I mean, I'm being more perfectionist than he was, clearly. With it, and then we lighten and disarm that line even more. Lighten. That looks about right. I'm still confused about this thing overlapping here. Because that looks like it's supposed to be snow, but then he's also drawn these lines continuing down through it, so I don't really know what to do with that. Except vandalize it. Yeah, no, that doesn't make sense. Yeah, I mean, the only thing that makes sense to me is that this snowdrift here comes out, goes over these edges, folds around them, and then wraps in on a snowdrift that's lying on the sill that's down here. It's kind of the only thing that really makes sense to me. Right? Like that? Yeah, I don't know anything else that would make sense, really. Okay. Guess that's the best we can do now. Haha. I'm just gonna widen these corners a little bit, because here comes the most difficult part by far. Right, that has to be how that connects up, and then this. It's like we don't have. Well, we have the roof over here, which, like, yeah, those connect up, and then that lowers down into, like, yeah. So that is a wraparound, which means this. See, that, because that doesn't make sense with the structure of the roof, right? Am I getting phone interference? God damn it. See, that doesn't make sense with the structure of the roof. Because the structure of the roof is like the one over here, right? Like where you have the lower layer, which is like these two lines, that then become like this, and this. It's one layer, and then another layer on top of it, which then sort of merges into down into here, and then there's another layer that's snow out on top of that. So how do I transplant that to there? Hang on. Let's see, let's just make that properly. Like that, right? This is our best reference for what we need to do here. Let me just be able to differentiate that layer. There we go. This is the structure. So, like, we have a dark shadow underneath, which is here. And then... No, that doesn't make any sense, because that's not part of the roof at all. Oh, so it's... Oh, I see. Okay, I think I get it. I'm just an idiot. I'm just a dumb. I'm just a dummy dum. Is what I am. Possibly. It's like, this is the only bit that's part of the roof, then. And then this in there is that. It's the inside decoration. Like, I think this line here is the same as this line here. It's like the inside decoration of it. So that just kind of needs to go up here and, like, terminate. Okay. And then this goes up to meet the roof. Because that's this. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Kind of, yeah. At least structurally, I think it does. And then this needs to extend out over. So it's actually out further than... that, creating like the roof of the ridge of the... Okay, maybe like that? Is that about right? Okay, that makes sense. Now I just need it to look right. Oh, I see. Right, yeah, no. Ruler, where are you? There you are. I need it to fit with the perspective. That's what I need. And now it's for the fit to perspective. Oh, I see. Okay, right. Let's just whoop, let's just kill all that. And then, because it would need to be centered, wouldn't it? With the middle of the window to really make sense. Wait, no, because the window is not actually in the middle of the front there, is it? Oh, the window is offset to the side. Well, that makes it more difficult. Okay. We can at least draw up perspective lines of the window to help guide us. Would have to be there, right? Okay. Yeah, I think... this is more correct. Not necessarily entirely, but... Right, and then I need to finish the snowflake again, so I got rid of it. Yeah, no, this needs to go further. It just feels so odd for this window not to be the exact center of the roof there, but we can see that it isn't. Like, this is not centered with where the top of the roof would be, right? Like, because if this was the center, it would need to go all the way out to here. They just kind of can't do that with these lines, so... yeah, so it has to be like this, even though that looks lopsided a little bit. No, so this is not quite lined up. Yeah. It's weird for that window not to be centered. But it isn't. Like, going by the illustration we have, it isn't, because this is already extending way up past, like, the center line of... because the center line of this is here. Right, so if that... I wanted to meet that... I'd have to extend this all the way up to here. And then somehow connect that all the way up to there, and that just doesn't work either, so no, it has to be this. It's just off-center. Which is a little bit... because the rest of the castle is so perfectly proportioned. Well, actually, you know, to come to look at it. Yeah, no, like, look. The rest of the castle does it. Like, it has that perfect center line here. That goes all the way down through all, like, all the windows here are centered, right? And all the windows here are pretty much centered inside this specific thing here, and... but then here they aren't, and here they are, right, like, sort of with the front there. So then why aren't they here? Like, why is this window all the way over to the left over there? Why are these offset when nothing else is? Like, here, the window is on the center line. Here, the window is on the center line. I mean, then the answer might just be... The answer might just be is it's just how Oda drew it for whatever reason. Yeah, it feels so... I think it is just because it's so near to that margin where he wasn't gonna fill it in anyway. That, like, he's just maybe slacked off on it a little bit. Or it could be that because he has this margin in the middle, he decided to move the windows out a little bit so that he could still show that detail on the inside of, like, who knows? There could be any number of reasons why he did it this way. Which leaves me with a dilemma, right? Because the thing I could do, if I really, really wanted to retouch this panel, like, this little bit to me strikes me as an error by Oda because he was drawing across that page border. And it looks good without the fill-in. But then with the fill-in, not so much. Should also consolidate my layers, actually, come to think of it. This one seems to be empty. This one seems to be empty. That's some of it, that's the rest of it. Yeah, It really just ever so slightly off the architecture here. Oh my god, okay. I'm gonna do something dumb. Okay, perspective ruler, help me out here. Give me a center line. Yeah. Okay. If we want to try and center it... Just try, just as an experiment, just to see. Just as an experiment, just to see. Because then if it was centered there, then we would have to have here and here, either side of the line. Here, here on either side of the line. It would be something like that, right? No. No, a little further to the right. On both counts. I mean, if I was just doing a little bit more rigorous with my fucking measurements, I could probably do this easier, but I am not a rigorous man. I'm an impulsive man. Right. It's also that aspect. There's an inside lip. But not on both of them, right? Oh, yes, on both of them. Oh, what a thing to try and freehand. I should use a ruler, but I have decided to be obstinate. See, that makes a little more sense with the geometry, a little bit. Just... Okay. This has turned out to be a fascinating exercise. Honestly. I'll replicate the snow over drift on it a little bit later. Okay. Just gonna cover this as well. Okay. Yeah, too broad, too wide, too big. I failed to move them, is the problem, which makes sense. Yeah, this is... This is such a fiddly thing because the other thing is... This would be less perspective accurate, because it does change a little bit in a three-pointer like this, but I just... move them. That's another solution. Not the one I might prefer, but whatever. Yeah, like that. I should just have moved them rather than... There we go. Okay. Yeah, I think that's... I think that's more or less got it. Yeah. Okay, sweet. Well, last step. Cropping. Do that, and then we do a little bit of an expansion. 60 pixels. 1801, yeah, and then 13.9, 15.9, boom. Yeah. That's a successful retouch to me. Cool. Anyway, if you sat through this, thanks. Bye.